Hi, YouTube. I'm just waiting for my audience is really on TikTok, so I'm just waiting for them. Okay. I'm on here every day. Hello. Hello. Why am I not talking? I don't know. Just reading your names. Anyway, while we're waiting for everyone to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and it is overcast today. I thought we had our summer coming, but evidently it's gone backwards again. That's okay. We had a gorgeous week or two. It was beautiful. So where are you from? I'm in Vancouver. Oh, I've got someone on YouTube. My audience is usually on TikTok. YouTube, actually, if you like to type out long questions, I sometimes forget to look at YouTube because I'm filming on there at the same time. Long Island, hi. Jamie, you've been here before, haven't you? I'm trying to remember the names. That's why I'm like sometimes just staring like that. So where are you? Yeah. Welcome back, Jamie. Where are you guys from? There's two Vancouvers, which I find really annoying because I always have to say Vancouver, Canada, and Vancouver, Washington probably says there are two Vancouvers, which I find really annoying. So I always have to say Vancouver, Washington. Newfoundland, hi, Lisa and Emmy. Are you new here? I don't remember seeing that handle. Anyway, what time is it? Oh, it's an awkward time to be on. So, oh, thank you very much, G. It's an awkward time to be on. I plan my lives. No, that's not true. I never plan my lives. Just whenever I've got free time, I come on here. So, 2-year-old slapping me. Can I slap back? No, you don't slap back. Of course not. Atlanta, Georgia. I'll tell you what. You start slapping back, by the time you're teenagers, you'll be in a fighting ring, losing teeth. So yeah, no, you don't do that. It's not an eye for an eye kind of thing. So I'm just waiting to hear where you're from, and just because we got enough people, I'll get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go, if you go on my website, you can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. The difference with my behavior board is that the parents are on there too. It teaches you how to give respect to get it. It's just a tool that I use to teach parents how to discipline, really, and also how to bond with their kids, because it's about bonding with them. Okay. New here, Southern Oregon. Excellent. Welcome. Chicago, Samantha, Illinois. Have you been here before? I think I remember the Samantha with all caps. Nova Scotia, Idaho. Oh, there's Idaho, Iowa, and Ohio. And yesterday I had someone from Ohio and Iowa right side by right in a row. I have a hard time with that. Boise. I had a cousin who lived there for many years. She was from Toronto and she married a man and they lived in Boise. Love your wisdom, Samantha. Thanks so much for that. Philippines, Savvy. You've been here before, haven't you, Savvy? Missouri, Arizona. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I was just going to do one of my parents, my clients, asked the best question, and it's in my course, which will be available soon. I've just got a small group going through it because it's brand new, so I just want to test it out with this group. They're fantastic. And she said, this is really good. She said, I told her I was going to do a video on this, but I'm just going to tell you right here. It's just a really good lesson here. She was, I think her kid's 5 years old. They were in the car and the mom had played this song that the child likes. So the mom said, the child said, can you play it again? And the mom said no, for whatever reason, who cares? Anyway, so she wasn't going to play it again. So the child started having a tantrum. And then when the child calmed down, they said, oh, I'm sorry, mommy. I'm sorry I acted like that or something. And then the mom said, oh, that's okay, sweetie, la, la, la. Then they said, now will you play it? The mom said, her spidey sense, her instinct said no. And I said, your instincts were right. I said, it's a form of manipulation. So they cry to get the song. That didn't work. So then they do then they do the buttering up to get the song. They're still trying. And the thing is, no means no. When you say no to something, it has to mean no. But I thought, yeah, they'll do that, right? It's just manipulation. I thought that was funny. That didn't work. I love you. I'm sorry. Now will you play the song? So yeah, and what I suggested the mom say is no. Remember, no means no. I already said no. But we can sing the song, or we can play another song if you'd like. But do not give in to that. It is just manipulation. Have you ever taught in public schools? No, I'm not a teacher or anything. I'm just a parenting coach. I've spent years and years in schools, and I've also talked to a lot of schools, like the parents. And sometimes I've talked about sex with teenage groups, like, sex education. But no, I have no qualifications whatsoever. There is no qualifications for parenting. You look it up. Is there a PhD in parenting? No. Huge portion of my clients have child development degrees, and they struggle with usually the teen years. Not always, because it's very different. Everything else is an institution. Parenting is personal. It's at home. It's just different. Those kids are a reflection of you. No kid can get under your skin like your own kid. It's just different. So yeah, no, I don't teach. I want to make that very, very clear. I've always said this. I have zero education, formal education. I'm experience-based. I've spent years in homes through the government, supporting moms or parents who are struggling. I spent a lot of time with disabled children in hospitals and care centers and in schools, and then with my clients now for about 17 years. So yeah, it's just experience-based. That's all. I'm old. I've been doing this for a long time. Okay. A huge portion of my clients are teachers, and it's not so much that they struggle more than other parents. It's that they're learners. They want to get it right. So it's not that they're struggling more. It's just that they are learners. They love education. So that's why they reach out for help when they, struggling with their kids. I like your method, ignoring crazy and rewarding. Good. So how do I know they aren't acting crazy? I don't know what you mean by that. By the way, my daughter and I were laughing at that video. She knew that last video I did was clickbait. Anytime I talk about tantrums, I know it got like 300,000 views. And I knew it would, just because anytime I go on about anything controversial about ignoring tantrums is going to be big. But the reason I put it out there is because it's important to ignore the crazy and reward the calm. Now, here's how you can tell the crazy. Let's say it's an adult, and they're just saying, I'm really upset about something, and they're crying. And then I would go in and hug them and say, well, let's talk about it. But if they just started screaming and breaking things and smashing things when they go in that crazy zone, there's no way I'd go near them. It's like that with tantrums. Tantrums are not emotions. They're a loss of control, okay? So that's why it's so important to ignore them. They're just different. They're not, and plus if ignoring a tantrum, if you feel that's damaging your child in some way, you got bigger fish to fry. If they don't already feel safe and know that you treasure them, that ignoring a tantrum is going to really damage them, you got other stuff to worry about. So yeah, my kids, believe me, and whenever I've been looking after kids, they know I care. Ignoring a tantrum has never seemed to have damaged any child I've ever raised or looked after. If anything, it calms them down, and then they understand that I'm a calm leader. They're watching me. That's what they're doing. They're not listening to you, they're watching you. So if you are a calm leader, I'm waiting for them to join me. I'm in the high road. I'm waiting for them to join me in the high road. I'm modeling calm behavior. They're watching. They will eventually join you. So yeah. Oh, good one. I do. This does come up a lot. How do you handle no screens when other kids at home or family movie night planned? Okay, you never take away family movie night. You can still do that. You just say, okay, we're going to have 2 hours of family movie night. Then you can watch family movie night. I can never take away love, right? So then they can have that with the family. Then afterwards, you add that 2 hours onto the end of the 24. Do you understand? So it's a total of 24. You just add it on. You never take away that. I thought you were going to ask something else. I thought you were going to say, how do you handle media blackout with one kid when the other 2 kids don't have it? The way you do that, I'll answer that too. Not that anyone asked, but it comes up a lot, is if you have one kid who has media blackout, that means no screens for 24 hours. Then what you do is they can have the run of the house, but in the master bedroom, the other kids can have smaller screens like computers or iPads, and say, look, the whole family's going to suffer a little bit because we're a family unit, right? We all have to adjust around these things. They're usually quite happy to be sequestered into the master bedroom with an iPad because their sibling doesn't get any media. Plus, you do media blackout with that one who doesn't get it and use that as time to bond with them. Like if they don't say, hey, there's no screens today, how about we play a game? No, I hate you. I hate you. Okay, fine. An hour later, ready for that game yet? You're always trying to bond with them, right? Sorry, I'm in hay fever. I do that pre-sneeze face, and then it never happens. Sometimes it does. Usually when I do sneeze, I don't even see it coming. Just blow a lawn all over the place. Oh, is that too graphic? Anyway, I'm a dry sneezer, thank God. Okay, so I think, anyway. Oh, co-sleeping, you need to fix that. 2-year-old, it's harder if they're not in a cot, like in a crib. Usually by the 2 years old, they're flipping out of that crib. People say to me, when do I get my kids out of the crib and into the real bed? I waited till my kids flopped onto the ground, and then I thought, okay, time to get them out of that cot. All I did was I just took the cot mattress and laid it on the ground and surrounded it by pillows just initially, so they weren't raised up at all. That wasn't your question. Anyway, so if you want to train them into how to sleep in their own bed, they're 2, and if you've been co-sleeping, it's almost unfair just to rip the Band-Aid off and have them just sleep in their own bed. It depends on if they're scared or not. But I would make their bedroom, do something new in there, like that galaxy light or something kind of exciting. And you can sit in a chair beside their bed with them. But you look like you're nodding off. You're not talking to them. You don't let them crawl in your lap. You don't look at them. You just sit there like this, and you can put your hand on the bed. That's it. Every time they climb on top of you, you just put them down like that and you pretend you're nodding off. They will eventually learn. So they feel safe. You're right there, but you just pretend like you're nodding off, which you probably will be after a while. Are they screaming and kicking? Yeah, probably. That's okay. It's part of it. It's all part of this. Their scenes are nowhere near as traumatic to them as they are to you. Have you ever decided to hug a child that's throwing a tantrum? When I was a child, I started doing all this when I was 11. Like I started volunteering in daycare centers. I watched other grown-ups in the daycare center do that. And I remember thinking, that doesn't make any sense. And I stopped doing it and I got great results. And they started asking me, how do you do that? How do you get such respect from the kids? And they're so good with you. It's because I didn't reward the crazy. I rewarded the calm. But yeah, so yeah, I did when I was about 11. I tried that. But then I learned very quickly it wasn't going to be my style. I like quick results. I want to have fun with kids. I don't want to drag out the tantrum. Hugs sort of, okay, good. You're good. You're feeling like crap. You're having a tantrum. Keep going. Keep going. You're rewarding that negativity. It's just what you're doing. So yeah, I reward the calm, not the crazy. But I learned that, yeah, I was about 11 when I tried that. I tried hugging a tantrum just because I saw adults doing it. And then they started asking my advice. I was 11 years old once I stopped doing it. So I've been doing this forever. I really think like I just got the key to this and I just figured it out when I was young. That was 51 years ago. So have I hugged a tantrum in the last 51 years? No freaking way. 14-month-old waking up 3 times a night for milk. Well, that's a tough one because the reason I say that's a tough one is it's a bit of a process. I think it's probably they're kind of getting up for, is it breast milk? Are they getting up for the nurture? There's too many questions around that. What are you feeding them for one thing? Is it breast milk? Is it formula? Is it a bottle? Is it a, now I got too many questions. So yeah, there's too many variables with that one. So I can't answer that. If you want my help, you can hire me on Bratbusters.com. That might just be one session. Okay. Bottle formula. Yeah, there's too many questions around that. What are you doing at night? Like, are you singing to them? And what's the payoff? What are they eating? You know, there's too many questions. So it's not for a TikTok live. Okay. My 3-year-old is always grumpy 24/7. I'm at such a loss on how to pull him out of it. Any advice? Okay. Children who are miserable, sensitive, hypersensitive, that kind of stuff, generally don't have a leader. Children with leaders feel safe and calm. It's just the way it is. So set yourself up as a calm leader. That's all I teach. You can start with my behavior board. It starts at the age of 3. It's free on my website, bratbusters.com. See how that goes. That's just a part of what I do. It's just a tool that I use with my clients. But if you want my extensive help, then that's one-on-one coaching. So that's also on my website if you're interested. But yeah, that stuff, whenever their moods and all that are just not stable, it means that they don't feel safe and they don't have a leader. There could be other factors. That's my general TikTok answer. Tattletales. Yeah. Depends on the age. I get stumped when I've got a million different ways of responding to that. I've got so many different ways of dealing with tattletales. Um, yeah, I don't, okay. I'll have to set up a scenario just to get my own brain focused on one way. Okay, let's say you have twins, 8-year-old, and they're always tattling on the other one. I would say something like this. First of all, I would decide if there is one that's a real troublemaker. You gotta assess the situation. Why are they tattling? What's the payoff for that? There's always a payoff. What's the payoff for tattling? I would have to figure that out first. Usually I can tell. I'll ask parents, I'll say, tell me exactly what happened before the tattle, then the tattle, and then what did you do afterwards? It depends on what the payoff has been, okay, in how we go about dealing with this. Generally, I would say something like this. No tattling. I'll tell you what, if you tattle, there'll be punishment for that, and there'll be punishment for what you did. I'll tell you what, we'll just stop all the fun. We can just take a break from the fun, whatever. I would just sort of punish them both. Just take away any fun. Say, I'll tell you what, we're going to the park later on. We're gonna go for an hour. We'll just go for half an hour because this tattling is just getting on my nerves. Sort of just diffuses it without really punishing it. Just treat it like it's just gets on your nerves. That's my general answer. But if there's some real friction going on between siblings, and one is really pushing the other one's buttons and loves to get them tattling and loves to see them getting all upset, then I would go to the source of that. But you got to watch that. Oftentimes, parents will hire me for, and there's a target. There's always a target. One of the kids is the target, right? Why they hired me. I always call them the target. And I'll say, what you just told me isn't adding up. I don't think they're the problem. I think it's the other one. And the parents will say, what do you mean? I say, I don't know, because the way they're responding doesn't make any sense to me unless they're being pushed off the cliff by the other kid. So oftentimes you don't know which one to believe. You got to figure that out. Can you answer mine about language? I didn't see that. They flip, right? And if I go back, I get nauseous. Sometimes I get dizzy because I've got really bad vertigo. You can ask it again and it might come up. Whoops, it just flipped again. Okay, 3-year-old constantly hitting his sister. She's 13 months old. 3 years old. There's a lot of usually jealousy there. Usually gets some more attention generally. But what I would say is whenever you hit your little sister, she gets to play with your favorite toy for an hour or the rest of the day, depending on what's going on there. But yeah, she gets, every time he hits her, she gets a reward. And keep them separate. Now you got to watch that. Is it work? Yeah, but it's usually just a couple of weeks of really hard work. Isn't it worth it? Oh, you're not going to like this answer at all. Can you touch on how to prep a 2-year-old for a new sibling? Absolutely not. How on earth can you prepare a toddler for a brand new human being coming into the family on a permanent basis, being loud, stinky, taking over their parents? It's impossible to prepare them for it. I know there's all sorts of people out there saying, here's what you do, get them their own little baby, have them help. It's kind of a bit of a crock. Like they're either going to just adjust or they're not. Some of them just really struggle with that. So no, there's no prep. None. The thing is, if you're a really good leader, it tends to calm the children down anyway. Like it's your leadership. Your leadership is everything. It's never about the kids. Your kid's behavior is a direct result of your parenting. And not so much at 2, but by the age of 3 to 3.5, it's all on you. Their behavior is a direct result of your parenting. If you're a calm leader, they tend to be just easy kids because they feel safe. They know what's expected of them. There's a reward for being good, and there's a consequence for not being good. So they just learn that. They just learn how to be accountable. They learn this like that. They're really, really pliable. So by the age of 2, they can start to learn this. When you're in charge, they just kind of calm down. But I'll tell you something funny. Not funny, actually, but when my son was 2, he's 33 now, but when he was 2, I had this friend who also had a 2-year-old boy. And both our little boys were what you would call passive. Like they never would have defended themselves, even they weren't aggressive in any way. They were easy, just sweet little boys, which was great. So they played beautifully together because some little kids are not so sweet. I've lost friends over that. Anyway, so this friend of mine had a brand new, gorgeous little baby girl, and her little 2-year-old went in the nursery and threw the newborn on the floor. Just bang, right on the floor. Now, this was not a child. If I would never have guessed he would have done that. But I also would have watched him hard. I also would watch that 2-year-old because you want to set them up for success, not failure. So she kind of trusted him a little bit more than I would have. I would have kept more of an eye on my son. I'm not blaming her for it, but it happens. So yeah, it's very hard for them to relate to that. How on earth could they possibly, like if someone tries to tell you, what's it going to be like to be a new mom? What's it going to be like? What could they is it anything like what you thought? Like, it's so overwhelming. It's like that for a 2-year-old with a brand new human being coming in and basically ruining their lives. And they're wonderful in the hospital. This is so funny too. I see this a lot. Oh, look, oh, and look at my little angel. He's holding his new baby sister in the hospital. He's such a wonderful big brother. And then he goes like, you know, you just know sometimes. They don't realize that's permanent. How could they? They're brand new, fresh human beings themselves. How could they really relate to this brand new baby coming in and ruining their lives? So that's a very long answer, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have a clue how to help them with that. But the better leader you are, the calmer you are as a leader, the less inclined they are to get upset over it because they just feel safer. They just feel more, it's just a calmer environment when they've got a calm parent. Okay, mother has her language, father his, and we live in a country that is not our mother language. Oh, so languages, I can't speak on that because I barely have one language. I always say I'm lucky I can speak one. Children are very pliable. So I actually have a lot of clients from all over the world who have kids who speak 2 or 3 different languages. So I don't know what to tell you about that because I've never experienced it and I don't have great experience with it. But it never comes up. There you go. It never comes up as a problem. The kids just seem to adapt to that. They don't know any different. To them, they say hello in 3 different languages and they just learn, they adapt. I've had friends who have immigrant parents and they speak growing up. I had friends who spoke 2 languages, didn't think anything of it. I always envied that. I thought, wouldn't that be great to be able to speak another language? How do I lead? That's all I teach. That's all I talk about. You can start with my behavior board. It's my teaching tool. It's one thing to talk about what you should be doing, but it's quite another to teach people how to do it. My behavior board is your teacher. That teaches you how to do it. It's just a small part of what I do, but it's my free. You can go and get that for free. If you want to pay me, I will guide you through it all. It's of course different when I'm working on it with you. But a lot of parents are getting great success for that. It just teaches you how to raise kids who are accountable for their actions because you're accountable too. I never used a behavior board. Why would I? I didn't need to. It's just a teaching tool. That's just to teach what I teach. But yeah, lots of parents are getting great results on their own. But when you're doing that by yourself, if you're not going to hire me, if you're doing that by yourself, pick a battle you know you can win. Don't pick the hard stuff and never put attitude down. Just pick something simple like put your dirty dishes in the dishwasher after dinner, within 5 minutes of finishing dinner, something like that. Keep it simple. It's not about what they're doing. It's about getting in the habit of being a leader, getting in the habit of making them responsible, getting them in the habit of being accountable. Too many adults these days are not accountable because this, sort of trend of, this pleasing parent stuff that's been going on for about 25 years. I remember saying that is going to raise the most self-entitled snowflakes. And sure enough, and I also said with mental health issues, it's an epidemic these days because they weren't raised to be responsible for their actions. They were getting participation awards just for showing up for everything, rolling out the red carpet, parents trying to make everything easy for them. They got a bad teacher, they'd go in and argue, I want to change teachers. I used to pray that my kids would get difficult teachers because I thought that's life, kiddo. Learn how to deal with it. That's life. Like I wanted my kids to be strong. So I didn't want these weak little snowflakes, but that's a real trend right now. That's what people are raising. So yeah, I do not teach that. I am not the pleaser parent at all. Mind you, I was best friends with my kids. I never had to discipline them because I was the leader. Leaders don't even need to discipline. Once you get that role, they just respect. It's just mutual respect. If I did something that annoyed my kids, they came and told me right away and I go, yeah, whatever. Or else sometimes I go, yeah, you're right. How about I get you something? So I was accountable too. You want to raise strong individuals. The authority parent is the old-fashioned way, my way or the highway. I know everything. That raises stronger kids, but builds a lot of resentment in the teen years. Funny thing is that the pleasers also build resentment in the teen years, but not often as bad. But sometimes there's more trouble, but not as much hatred and resentment. But they get in just as much trouble, is what I'm saying. The pleaser and the authority, those teens tend to get in as much trouble. But the authority, if I was going to err on the side of the pleaser or the authority, definitely the authority. They tend to raise stronger individuals. Do you have experience with children on the spectrum? Yes, but I don't discuss that on here. That's only coaching. That's in the specialty realm. Like the only two things I don't, I kind of wash my hands of is eating disorders and drug abuse. Those are specialties, and I don't know anyone who's can really solve that anyway. But yeah, that's about it. I deal with everything. Because I deal with the parent-child relationship. I'm not fixing autism, and not that it is, but I'm not fixing drug abuse. I'm not fixing anything really. I'm working on the relationship. I'm working on your relationship with your child. I'm helping you build strong bonds of mutual respect. That's leadership. That's what this is. When they're little, they want to please you because they look up to you. When they're teenagers, they don't want to disappoint you because they look up to you. But they're more their own leaders. You want to raise strong individuals. I'm tired today. I didn't get a great sleep last night. Okay. Dad hurt 5-year-old, doesn't say I love you back, is bossy rude during play. But dad hurt 5-year-old daughter, doesn't say. Okay, well, I can't help you help the dad. That dad has to help me, has to come to me and ask for help. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't tell you what to tell parents to do, what to do. So yeah, I can't do that. Often when I'm hired, well, if you want to know my prices and all that, just go on my website, bratbusters.com. Anyway, often when I'm hired, I'll get, I can always tell if one parent wanted to hire me and one didn't, because one's like this and the other one's like this. And then my job is to get them on the same page. If not, I say, well, you stay out of it. I'll just deal with that one. You know what happens is the parent who was like that sees the other parent get this really great relationship going with the kids, and then they want in on it. So it's not about outsmarting your kid. Like leadership to me isn't about, you are the boss because you're the parent, right? You're paying the rent, you're buying their food, you have to guide them and raise them. So you are in charge, you're the leader, but you're not the know-it-all. You're a really good listener. Like you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. You're open-minded, and you may have your own beliefs and your own religions, but they may choose their own, and that's okay too. They're not mini me's, they're not mini you's. You want to raise independent thinking, strong young adults who respect you and you respect them. That's what you want, right? I'm doing my course, and one of the things that they're almost in week 5 now. So they're almost finished this course, and it's just this small group I've got testing it, going through it, and it's going well. So one of the test lessons, one of the sections is on religion and beliefs. That's a touchy one, but I'm very opinionated on this. This is something because I talk to people all over the world and they have all their own, and then they often end up with a child who's gay or something and it's against their religion. And I say, really, you're not raising mini me's. You've got to have an open mind, because if you're stifling your child's true nature or their beliefs, and they may not always believe what you believe. They don't have to. I'm so adamant about this. They have to be allowed to express their own beliefs or try them out or whatever. That you want them to be free thinkers. Years ago, I knew this mom, and she was a great mom, except she was Catholic. She's dead now. I think just a long time ago. Like she would be in her 105 by now. But anyway, she was a very, very devout Catholic. And one of her kids grew up, and she had many kids. One of her kids grew up and said, well, I don't believe in God or anything. Didn't want to go to church anymore. The mother didn't speak to that daughter for 10 years. And because she wouldn't go to church. And the daughter finally went back to church just to because she missed her siblings and everything. Like the whole family was torn apart because of this, because of the mom's beliefs. And so finally the daughter did go back to church, but she only did it for the family. And there was a lot of resentment there. That relationship was very unhealthy. But I thought, how sad that mother couldn't let go of her own beliefs to love her. She loved her beliefs more than she loved her child. I just thought that was the saddest thing in the world. So I'm sure there's sadder things, but you know what I mean. I just think that's terrible. You've got to allow them to be free thinkers. So you're a leader, but you're not the authority. You're not telling them what to think, what to believe. You're showing them how to make good choices. That's all. Choices that suit them too. Respectful choices, not hurting other people. Not like fix autism. Yeah, I knew you were gonna hit on that one. I didn't mean that. Yeah, I do deal with parents who have children on the spectrum, but that's not one session. That's at least 3 to 5 because we gotta throw mud at the wall and see what sticks. I don't know what you've been doing that went well, what didn't go well, what support you have, what kind of school they're in, if they are mainstreamed, if not. There's a million different things going on there. So, yeah, but then we have to figure out what works and what doesn't. And also the problem is that children on the spectrum, they're also different. So that's why there's no general answer. They're all really unique. They have their own things that they really like and they that really speak to them, and and then but they're all different. They have some similarities, but anyway. Okay, raise them to be grown-ups with who you would like to sit and spend time with. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just people that are pleasant to be around. I mean, but even that. I mean, what's your idea of pleasant? Do you know what I mean? Like they might be debaters, and like Jordan Peterson. You know who he is? He's very famous. He's some big professor and very well spoken. But he's not. I watch him a lot because he's one smart guy. He knows what he's talking about, but he's miserable. He's got a lot of problems with like depression. He's so smart and he's analyzing everything all the time. He's kind of a negative person. So as wonderful as he is, and he contributes a lot to this world, he's not someone I'd want to spend time with. Does that make any sense? We all have different ideas of what great is. So I watch him, but I wouldn't want to spend time with him. He just strikes me as like negative energy, just negative. I'm drawn to positive energy. So I'd rather be with someone stupid and fun than someone smart and boring. Not saying he's boring, but you get what I mean. So yeah. Someone asked me, I was very prepared for kids. Jordan Peterson is his name. Jordan, Jordan, I think, and then Peterson. Look him up. He's someone I look to a lot for. He's just so smart. He's written a lot of famous. He's very famous. Jordan Peterson. I love. He can be funny, but I agree. He's mostly a dentist. He agrees that. He says, you know what? He did this one video, and I thought I could see that coming a mile away. He said, actually, he says I hate myself. He said I really get up and I don't like myself. I thought you can just feel that negative energy, though, right? Like just negative energy. But he's very smart. I agree with almost everything he says, but he still isn't someone I care to meet because I feel like he'd walk in the room and just suck all the happiness out of it. But I don't mean that in a mean way. He's so smart. But yeah, so being really smart and really contributing to the world doesn't mean that you're a fun person to be around. But yeah, he's great. What did someone else say though? Someone said to me once, "Were you prepared? How do you prepare for parenting?" Well, I worked for almost 20 years. I was volunteering in daycare centers, hospitals, schools, anywhere I could find little kids, and a lot of disabled children, ill children, and I was just mentoring and mothering them all the time. So you got to put in the time. This is not something that you can learn. You got to practice it. It's experience based. So it's not something that you can I think, just read a book. You've got to still watch someone, or it's a lot of body language, a lot of experience based to really feel confident. Um, yeah. And who else is going to do that? I was born to do this. That's why I was so keen on all this stuff. I was going to become a child psychologist. I'm sweating. That's why my hair is all itchy. I got very thick hair, and when you start to sweat, it gets really hot in there. What do you care about that? Why am I telling you that? Anyway, yeah, I was 11 when I started volunteering in daycare centers, and then I was about 20, and I thought, well, I should just become a child psychologist, right? So I took a prerequisite course or something for university, and they kicked me out after a week because I asked too many questions. And then the other students started asking me questions. I just understood kids, and what they were saying was garbage. And nowadays, that was 40 years ago, 40 plus years ago. I'm sure they fixed it up by now, but it was all this authority. I know my way or the highway. I know better than you. It was this one-upmanship with children. It was very condescending, and I don't do any of that. I connect with them so they want to please me. That was my thing. You connect with them so they want to please you because you bring out the best in them. When they like themselves when they're around you, they tend to want to please you. You want to increase their self-esteem and make them like themselves, and then they just want to be be around you. Okay. I was watching this interview. I'm just looking up my bulletin board because I wrote it down. I was listening. I was in the kitchen. I was listening to this guy being interviewed. He was a young man, and he was doing quite well in life. And then they said to him, um, what kind of a kid were you? Did you ever get in trouble when you were a kid? And because he just said, he says, I was very close to my parents. I looked up, he says, we were like friends, but I admired them. So I didn't ever want to disappoint them. And I think that's what I had with my parents and what my kids had with me. Do you know what he said though? He said, I raced to my desk to write down this quote. He said, I never did anything wrong because I was happy. When you're happy, you tend to just exude goodness. Like when you're happy, think about that. I never did anything wrong because I was happy. That's why he was an easy kid. I thought you were answering questions. Well, that was snotty. Are you a kid? Teenager. The reason why I always think that stuff's funny when people get snarky is because I worked with troubled teens for years. If you think you can say anything nasty to me, I've heard it all. I know where it's coming from. Okay. Now, my son's new thing, oh shoot. My son's new thing is throwing himself down on his head. Okay. But you said your son's, I don't know how old he is. I'm assuming he's under 2. If he's throwing himself on the ground, banging his head, just restrain him. That's all you can do. If you see it coming, run over and restrain him. So just prevent him from banging his head on the wall. He will outgrow that. When they're usually under 2 when they do that, because then they learn, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that because it hurts. They just have no concept of that. So yeah, I actually have clients, I've said, get those foam helmets. And if they do it all the time and you can't watch them, get a foam helmet. You know, it's better to keep them alive and prevent concussions rather than worry about putting a helmet on them. So yeah, I have quite a few clients who've done that. And they say, yeah, it was just 2 weeks of that and then they outgrew it. You can sometimes find stuff like that on Facebook Marketplace. When do teens develop true empathy? Well, that's not a teen thing. That's some children at about 3 and 3¾ can develop empathy. Feel for other people. And I remember I used to say this all the time. 3¾ is that mark. I've worked with hundreds of kids and I've just seen that 3 years and 9 months. That's when they almost always develop, oh, wait a minute, other people feel too. They say it and they kind of look like they get, but they don't really get it till they're that age. So yeah, they can get that at 3¾ and some people who are 30 don't have it. So, you know, it's not an age thing, it's a personality thing. And you know, some people say, oh, well, I'm very sensitive. But when people say that, they're usually just sensitive about themselves. Every time someone I've met has said that, oh, well, I'm a very sensitive person, it's usually just about themselves. Empathy is different. Empathy is when you feel for other people. And people used to question me all the time. I used to spend a lot of my time, especially in my 20s. I was at hospitals and facilities for disabled children. Why do you do that? They say, what do you like like this gifted or why do you do that? Why do you give so much? And I said, it's not about giving. You know what I get back from that? Like I just got such fulfillment from doing that. So it wasn't that I never felt like I was giving, even though it was all volunteer work. I never felt like I was giving. I felt like I was learning obviously I was learning to do this, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought that it was fulfilling me. I'm very maternal. So it was fulfilling a need that I had. And so, yeah. Is it bad to call your little toddler dude? I don't think so. I don't even want to tell you what I called my kids. It's still, one of my kids, it's 6 words that I still to this day, I come out with it sometimes. It's not pleasant, but it's funny. So yeah, I don't worry about stuff like that. This one, my answer is going to be confusing. I'll have to craft it. How to raise siblings so they don't get jealous of each other. Sometimes I'll get clients, and I always say a huge part of what I do as a leader, you want to bond with your children. It's not about discipline, really. Discipline is a side effect. You're bonding with your children. You're connecting with them. When you do that, when you get good at this leadership stuff, because think about it, when I worked with hundreds of kids, I had no way of disciplining them. I bonded with them. That was my strength. I was bonding with them. Anyway, so sometimes I'll get clients and they'll say, well, I'm just not close to my kids. All I ever seem to do is yell at them, blah, blah, blah. I get this a lot. So then, they'll say to me, so it, I often take them and I get one-on-one time with them. So I'll take out little Johnny on Friday night. We'll go to the movie. Then I'll take out little Sally on Sunday. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You do not do that. You're building resentment. It's like, well, that's his time. That's her time. That you bond with your children together as a family. You can do those one-on-ones too, but not until you're all bonded. But you bond as a family, as a unit with the kids, and then that builds their bond. You can't force them to get along, but if you're all playing a game together, they will start getting along. You see, that's how you bond. You bond as a unit. You don't bond with each child. Well, I'm going to bond with you today, you tomorrow, you the next day, you the next day. Builds resentment, and they end up hating each other. So let's say, okay, today I'm going to play with you and you all today, and we're going to play Monopoly, okay? That's how you do it. It was funny because my daughter's not maternal at all. And I was telling her about this one client who'd said, and I was curious to see what she'd say. I said, they were doing the one-on-one time trying to bond with their kids, and my daughter said, oh, no, 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 no. She picked up on that right away, and she's not maternal at all. So, but she knew that's certainly not how I bonded with them. It was like all of us. So yeah, that's how you don't build resentment. Thanks for the gifts. I have no idea what they mean. I still don't know. Sometimes I look it up. What does a gift mean? I know it's a sign of appreciation, and I'm grateful for that, but I don't quite know what it means. Like there's different ways of getting gifts. Sometimes I'll get a flower, and then I can't. Anyway, it does make sense though, doesn't it? Because if you're already bonded, then yeah, I'd take my daughter out for something that she liked to do, and my son. But because most of our time spent together was with all of us. I'm grown, but my sister will get resentful if my mom spends more time with another. Yeah, there's resentment there. So I don't know what to say to that. If you're grown, I don't know what to say to that. But you understand the basis behind this. Yeah, I didn't do that one-on-one stuff. And also, when you are, the gifts are money. The gifts aren't money. Because there's no money on TikTok here, not for Canadians anyway. Like I know they're not money. No, actually, that's not true. I've been on here for about 14 months now, and I've got a lot of gifts, but I think I've got 11 cents in TikTok. So yeah, TikTok doesn't pay you. It just builds community. Like it builds, whatever, builds community. Shoot, I forgot what I was saying. Never mind. Okay, you got a 2-year-old who's just started smacking. That I actually have a course on that, and it's on Bratbusters.com, and it's called Toddlers Who Hit, etc. Something like that. I know it's a dumb name, but anyway, it's a good course, just a dumb name. And but anyway, it goes into that in great detail. But basically, you just say no, and then you hold their hand away if they're still trying to hit. And there's always a consistent corrective action. You got to be fast though. It's got to be right in the moment. No, and then you take a toy away, or no, and then you remove them for a second and you walk away or whatever. There's consistent corrective action because they only learn through repetition. That's it, repetition. They don't learn through discussions, these mini therapy sessions. God, don't get me started. Why do I say that? Every time I say that, I start to get mad. I hate those mini therapy sessions. They are like my nemesis. That's what I'm up against. The mini therapy sessions, discussing all the big feelings and emotions. Oh, you know why I'm up? I never look at what's going on out there. Never. I have no idea who else is out there teaching what. My clients come to me all the time. This is what we've been doing because it's really popular. And I'm like, oh God, I know it's popular. It's these mini therapies validating all their feelings, their emotions, their farts, their burps, their blinks. You don't need to validate everything. It's ridiculous. You don't validate the crazy, you validate the calm. The crazy takes care of itself. They learn through watching you. You're a calm leader. They learn. They just do. The only thing I ever said to my son, he was the one who had tantrums. He was about 8. And he almost had a tantrum. He hadn't had a tantrum since he was about 3, but he just was in a mood. You either are born to have them or you're not. It's a temper. It's just a lack of control of your temper. Anyway, so he's about 8. And I said, sweetie, I have no problem with you being angry. You know that. I don't care. But just go in your room and scream into a pillow. But that was at 8. And he hadn't had one in like 5 years. And this wasn't even really one. I could sense he was getting upset, but that's about it. They eventually learn. They're watching you. They eventually learn, hey, this isn't going to get me anywhere with that mother, right? There's no payoff for having a tantrum with me. None. There's no reason to do it. They just stop doing it. They just learn. Their emotions just kind of calm down. They just take care of themselves. It doesn't mean they can't express themselves. He could talk about anything when he's calm. I don't talk to that crazy though. No way. Is it normal to have 4 or 5 tantrums a day? Yeah, it's normal to have 40. It means you're not a leader. That it's their way of screaming out for leadership. That's all it is. Validate the calm. I love that. Yeah, and they're watching you. You're modeling calm behavior. You're modeling the high road. You don't go down to the low road with them. That's bad. You don't want to go down there. Then you're both there. Who's there to pull you up to the calm? I always say never jump off the cliff with your kids because there's no one left to pull you up. I'm there. They're having a tantrum. I'm here. I'm filing my nails. I'm just waiting for you. I'm up here. I'm up here. As soon as you're done, oh, do you want to go to the park? I don't discuss tantrums. I just don't. It's all negative, negative, negative. I pull them into the positive. When you join me, my mom was like that. She had no patience for anything negative. I just learned, hey, you don't be negative with my mother. She just has no tolerance for it. But I told my mom everything. And so did my kids. They told me everything. Being a calm leader, they'll talk to you. They just will. I've been ignoring my toddler's tantrums lately, and it really works. I know it works. That's great. Congratulations. Congratulations. Good for you. Excellent. I'm happy to hear that. What are your best advice for first steps to be a good leader? Well, it depends. If they're toddlers, you just completely childproof the whole house and enter their world and have fun with them. You bond with them that way. And then whenever they do something you don't like, you say no, and then you take a toy away. It's a consistent corrective action. So you can be a really good leader with a toddler too. But anyway, as they get older, there's 2 really important skills when they're young or throughout till they're about maybe 9 to 12. It's listening. Everything is about listening. You listen to understand. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. Like if my kids told me something, I'd say, yeah, that would be frustrating. You want to talk about it? Or they'd say, Mom, what should I do? I always said what my mother said. Well, I don't know. You're smart. You can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. So I was always guiding them into making good choices. I was guiding them into being their own leaders, really self-disciplining. Then when they're teenagers, so listening is the number 1 parenting skill. And then as they're teenagers, you add negotiating. You do something like this. You always negotiate with teenagers. Say, look, I want you to come in at 11 tonight. And then they say, well, look, it's a really great party. I think, how about 12? And you go, yeah, okay, 11:30. How's that? So you're always negotiating. Give them a say. So negotiating skills with teenagers is crucial. And listening is really important because if you've listened to them when they're growing up, by the time they're teenagers, they don't know how to shut up. They can't not talk to you. They just tell you everything because they trust you, because they know they're not going to get a lecture. Like I didn't ever tell my kids what to do. If they did they never really did anything I had to correct, but they just didn't. Why would they? Because they were respected. So why would they? It would have been embarrassing for them to act out because they were so respected. Does that make sense? It would have been like, it would be like if you have a really good sports coach, wouldn't you be embarrassed to be rude to him? Wouldn't it be embarrassing? And everyone else would kind of look at you funny too. Like that's someone that's good to us, that's fun, that brings out the best in us. Why would you? That's what I think of parenting. You're fun, you bring out the best in them, and your kids would almost be embarrassed to be rude to you. That I know my kids would have been. Like it would just be, why would you be embarrassed? Why would you be rude to Mom? She's so good to us. She never yells. That's what you want. That's the ideal relationship, is that mutual respect. What would the corrective action be for an 18-month-old? Biting? Yeah, just say no. And then you just walk away. You say no and walk away. If they go to bite you again, you say no and push them away. You don't shove them across the room. You get what I'm saying. Just push them and say no. Walk away. Just keep pushing, say no. If they keep coming at you, just hold them back. Restrain them from biting. It's okay to restrain them from being violent. It's just fine. A 13-year-old curses at me, calls me by my first name, just rude. Yeah, they just don't respect you. If you want my help with that, you have to hire me. It's usually 5 sessions with teenagers. You don't discipline teenagers, you get their respect, and then you can negotiate stuff. But yeah, that's just, they just don't respect you. You got to set yourself up as a leader. It's all about you. I don't teach. I don't teach teenagering. They already know how to teenager. They're just reflecting off your parenting. That's all that is. So yeah, I teach you how to be a leader. It's a lot of sleep training stuff. I've got to keep writing it down to do it. Um, I've already done this course. There's just something, I just don't like I don't like a section in it. That's why it's about a year ago I finished it. It's called Bedtime Battles. I keep writing it down to fix up that section. Once I don't like something, I don't like going back to it. I just did this one section I don't like. So anyway, I should get myself just to do that. It teaches you how to get your kids to bed and keep them there. But anyway, because it's a bit of a process. What to do when you discipline and he laughs at 3 years old. So who cares? I don't care if they laugh or not. What difference does that make? He's just trying to get a rise out of you. If it bothers you, he's winning. If it bothers you, you're not a leader. Yeah, and he knows that. So yeah, I don't care what they do. Could care less. I never address attitude. The attitude is a reflection of your parenting. So once you get good at all this leadership stuff, they don't act like that. Appreciate me writing it down. I'm really good at writing that Bedtime Battles course down. I'm just lousy at getting it finished. I'm really good at this part. Finish Bedtime Battles course. I just never do. I should. I have to go into my courses today. I'm working on another thing in there. So I should flip over to Bedtime Battles and just finish it up. Because it is a good one. It's just this one section. I hate what I wrote about it. And I just, I couldn't figure out I know. Stupid me. I'll just use Chat GPT and just tell them to fix it up. It's just the way I worded it. And I didn't get my message across right. I'll throw it into chat and see what they come up with. They don't come up with it perfect, but it usually helps me. All you have to do is the AI, right? You just put something in there, and then if you don't like it, say make it more casual, or make it more formal, or make it more funny, or it's just the best thing. I don't like writing. That's why I haven't finished it. I like talking. I don't like writing. What would be the right form of disabling that's effective? Disabling. Oh, discipline. Well, download my free behavior board. You'll see. It just explains how to do this. It explains it all, like how you set down the rules and the consequences and lots of examples of consequences. So it's best to just go in there. It's free. My behavior board, it's on bratbusters.com. Thousands of people have downloaded that. And I get emails every single day telling me that, it's working. But then often they hire me too, because there's a whole bunch that goes into it. Like if you've got really big problems, you might not be able to do that on your own. Anytime I see you live, I'll pop in and say, Bedtime Battles. Are you my daughter posing as Steph? My daughter's really good at that. To get me to do something, she'll just say something and it triggers me. I know, I should do that. Because she's the one who got me on TikTok. She kept saying, Mom, get on TikTok. And I said, no, it's just for 12-year-old dancers, right? So I said, no, I'm never going to go on TikTok. And then every single day she'd go, TikTok. Drove me so nuts I went on here. And okay. Can I hire your assistants from the UK virtually? Yeah, I've got clients all over the world. All over the world. It was funny, I'm learning about different countries too. I'll look at their address on the form because they have to fill out a questionnaire. And I'll look at some countries I don't even know. There was one the other day. Well, actually one that I hadn't heard of. I had a student living with us for a while. She was from Kazakhstan, and I'd never even heard of that. Like, I'm just not very worldly, and I'd never even heard of it. So I learned all about Kazakhstan through her. So, okay. Yeah. Okay. In-laws, other people telling you how to parent and undermining your parenting. I can't fix that unless I can get to them. If you want to hire me and have me talk to them, even then I can't guarantee. So no, it's not my lane. But this is what I always tell people to say. If you're trying to manage adults, this is what you say. You lead with your feelings and say, when you undermine my parenting, it makes me feel bad. What can they argue with that? Well, I'm just trying to help you. Say, well, it's not helping. It just makes me feel bad. Okay, I know you do it out of love, so you got to try and be really lovely and, I compliment them. I know you do it out of love. I know you're a great mother, great, whatever, but it makes me feel bad. So can you just let me parent and make my own mistakes, please? That's all you can do. Lead with your feelings. Lead with your feelings. Don't say you. Just say how it makes you feel. Lead with your feelings. When I used to work with teenagers, I always said that. This is how you talk to your parents. You know, when the other day you did that, I just felt awful about myself when you did that. And it breaks down defenses. What did you mean when you say don't address bad attitude? It's when they give you sass and they're snarky and they're rude. I don't address that because that's a byproduct of their lack of respect for you. But I do address a name calling. I address that. It's specific and it's different. But yeah, I never address kids who yell or scream or some bad words. I will address though. Name calling and bad words I will address. Say no bad words will go on the behavior board. But yeah, there's no point in addressing attitude. It just means they don't respect you. You got to earn that respect, and then the attitude drops away. Don't try and put the cart before the horse. The attitude is the cart. The horse is your leadership. So if you're a good leader, right? So it just is a byproduct of your leadership or lack of. That's all. That's all it is. So you work on yourself. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're teaching parents here. We're setting you up as a leader. We don't fix kids. They're not broken. They're just a reflection of your parenting. That's all this is. Their basic personality, they're born with. Their basic nature, they're born with. Their behavior is taught by you. That's a 100% a reflection of your parenting. That's all it is. What time do you at? You mean, well, are you asking about coaching? I just have learned to cater to all different time zones. Sometimes I'm up early, sometimes I'm up late. What do I say when my 3-year-old has a mean tone? I don't address tone. I don't address attitude. Nope. Take that as a sign. Hey, I got to work on my leadership skills. That's all that is. Okay, I don't really like talking about food because that's more nutrition and doctor and medical stuff, but you're asking about getting a toddler to try new foods. I'll just tell you what I did with my own kids. I wasn't as radical as I am now, but I'm a gluten-free health food vegan now. So it's all about nutrition first, taste second, for sure with me. But when my kids were growing up, I made everything from scratch. I hate cooking, but anyway, I made everything from scratch, and it was all only healthy food. I didn't have junk in the house. So this was my kids' choice. You can have this healthy food or that healthy food. And as they got older, they were about 3 to 5 years old, they had to try everything, but they didn't have to eat it. So I just cooked around things that they enjoyed, but they had to keep trying things. But because there was no friction and they respected me and I respected them, they didn't push back. They would just try it. But it might be like this, like just, and that was a try. And I go, okay, I guess you could call that a try. Then they'd laugh and I'd laugh. It was no big deal. So yeah, don't make it a battle because then it'll just get like this, right? So yeah, they had choices. You can have this healthy food or that healthy food. But everyone says, well, that's unrealistic because we like to have good food. Well, anything that isn't healthy is just filler. It's not really food anyway. So, but yeah, that's your choice. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just telling you what I did. It's like whenever I tell parents my best advice for toddlers, how to manage their behavior around the house, is to childproof your whole house. Do what I did. Everything was above the waist, plants and everything. It looked ridiculous. There was nothing waist down. But that way I never had to say no. It was a really pleasant environment for my kids. And I childproofed everything. And then parents say, well, I would never want to do that. Well, then I can't help you. Like, that's my advice. Just don't have junk food in the house. How to stop a toddler from hitting. I actually have a whole course on that if you're interested. It's on my website. Those are my mini courses. There are 3 of them. They're toddler ones. They're just $29 each. And it's about toddlers who hit, bite, etc. It's just consistent corrective action. You pick a battle that you want to focus on, like biting would be your battle or hitting would be your battle. So for a whole week, you watch them like a hawk. Every time they hit or go to hit, you say no, and you take a toy away from them. There's consistent corrective action. A corrective action could be taking a toy away, saying no, and putting their hand down like that, or you just saying no and then walking away, removing them from the fun for a few minutes or whatever. Consistent corrective actions. After about a week, they should learn. And because they only learn through repetition. They don't learn through words. Don't have these mini therapy sessions with them. That's for you. That's not for them. I know it's trendy right now, but it's garbage. It's only for the parent, not for the child. Oh, God, I hate this. This just drives me insane. When they say, get down on their level and say, use your words. What a condescending, patronizing, ignorant thing to say to a toddler. They are using their words. Everything they're doing is their words. God, I hate that patronizing stuff. You'd think that would be gone by now. That is so patronizing. Drives me insane. I can insult that because I have no idea who teaches it. I just know my clients tell me some people still talk like that. Okay. What happens after you take things away? They throw a tantrum. Thanks for asking that. Perfect. That's their way of processing it. They will learn. That's their learning curve. Through every scene, at the end of it is a lesson. Every scene is a lesson. Allow them to do that. So you take it away, they have a tantrum. Good. They're learning. That's their process, that maybe I don't get everything I want when I want it. They have to go through that. That's okay. You want that. Never try to avoid a tantrum or a scene or a fit, ever. If a kid's if I take something away from a kid and they start to scream, I'm like, yippee. Because that's the lesson at the end of that. So long as I ignore it, there's a lesson at the end of that scene. That makes perfect sense to me. Does that make sense to you? Like they have to process, I don't get what I want, when I want, and how I want it. Not with her, and not with me anyway. They learn very quickly. Never be afraid of a scene. If you're afraid of a tantrum, they have got you by the knackers. Don't parent through fear. I don't care. They can scream. I don't care. Go for it. That's my power, is allowing you to process that you don't get everything you want. You're asking me how to give your sister. I don't give people advice to give to other people because I just don't. She would have to come on and ask. I just don't. I don't tell other people how to manage their kids. I don't tell you how to because I never told anyone how to manage their kids. The only reason I'm talking here is you're soliciting my advice by being here. I've never offered parenting advice to anybody unless they ask me. And even then, if it's a friend or something, I'm very careful. I don't talk like this. Well, you might just want to try that. Because people used to say to me, well, you're just so lucky. You got the easiest kids in the world. Anyone who really knew me knew I put work into that. I worked for that. But yeah, my kids were super easy, but that's because I put the work in. But yeah, a lot of friends just wanted to believe that was just luck. Oh no. So sorry about that reaction. So ignore tantrums and then you talk or find the need or whatever. No. No. Why do you need to talk? You already know why they had a tantrum. You already know they just didn't get their own way. You don't need to discuss that. Well, the reason you didn't get what you needed is because of this and that. Don't reason with them. They're toddlers. Don't do that. That's your world. That's not them. They've just learned by you ignoring that, by you making sure they didn't get what they shouldn't have, and then they have to have a fit. That's how it goes. Allow them to process that. That is their learning curve. Oh, I'm going to tell the swing story. Perfect example of why you don't discuss tantrums, which I think is mean. I just think it's mean. Anyway, this is the swing story. I've told it a zillion times, but it's just such a good one. There's two of my favorite stories. The pool story is my absolute favorite, but it's for older kids. This one is for 2-year-olds. Anyway, so I go to the park with my 2-year-old son. True story. I go to the park with my 2-year-old son, and there's another mom there, and she has her 2-year-old son too. I sort of seen her around, but we didn't really know each other. So it's the first time we've ever really met. So hi, how are you? How you talk? Where are you from? How long you live here? All that. So then we put our little boys, 2 swings, 2 toddlers, 2 moms. We put our little boys, and we're chatting, put our little boys on the swings. They both pointed to the other swing. They wanted the other swing. So we go, oh, let's just switch them. Who cares, right? Let's just switch it. They both started having a tantrum because they wanted the other swing, but they're too dumb to realize we were just going to put them. They're toddlers. They don't make any sense, right? Don't try and make sense out of them. They haven't got sense yet, okay? So anyway, they both start having a tantrum. 2 benches there. She goes to one bench with her little boy. I go to the other one. My son goes to run. I sit him down. He goes to run for the swing. I put my arm out to prevent him from running, right? And he knew right away, Mom's never going to let me get back on that swing because he knew I was in charge. So anyway, his tantrum only lasts, but I'm ignoring him. I'm looking up at the trees. I'm not looking at him, nothing. So because he already kind of knew how it went with Mom. So he knew, wait a minute, as soon as I calm down, I might get on that swing. He was starting to figure this out. So anyway, about 2 minutes in, it wasn't a big tantrum. He had bigger ones. This was a smaller one. So anyway, about 2 minutes in, he finished his tantrum. So I said, oh, you want to go back on the swing? Sure. And then we go back on the swing, swinging away, having a great time. So he's swinging like crazy. The other boy has a tantrum that lasts 20 minutes because the mom is talking to him the whole time. Give me a hug. Well, you know, if you, mommy was going to put you on it. She's feeding it, feeding it, feeding it, feeding it. She's in his world. She's in the crazy with him. He's just getting, she's building him up. It's just making it worse and worse and worse. She's feeding it. Attention is food for a tantrum. Then he finally finishes and he's got the hiccup cries, these hiccup cries. Then she discusses the whole scene with him. She has the mini therapy session trying to discuss all of his feelings. She already knows what his feelings are. He was just crazy. He wanted to be on the other swing yesterday. He didn't want to, right? You know what I mean? Like, there is no sense out of that. Why on earth she had to do that mini therapy session? 10 minutes, she's talking. Now give mommy, mommy loves you. They were both miserable. My kid's been swinging for half an hour while this kid's getting a therapy session. Like, no. Then we go home. We're all fine. It's all good. Then her and her little boy go home and he's still upset and she's upset. Which scenario would you rather live through? Think about it from the child's perspective and the mother's perspective. My kid knew this was never going to work. Her kid, she was feeding it and feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. Then she talked about it afterwards. Where was the reward? I ignore the crazy and reward the calm. As soon as my son finished his tantrum, you want to go back on the swing? Reward, let's go back on the swing. You see the difference? He learned how to behave. This kid learned nothing. Anyway, I'm very opinionated about that because I got so much, I'm old, right? I'm in my 60s. I've been doing this forever. Times change, but people don't. Reward the calm. Yeah, there's no discussing it after. What's the point in discussing it? This poor kid, he was finished. So then he calms down. Then he's punished some more. That is punishment, by the way, discussing it. That is punishment to a 2-year-old child, discussing the tantrum. That is torture. So he calms down, then she punishes him for another 10 minutes. Where's the lesson? Where is it? Nowhere. But it's trendy. I know it's trendy. Moms like to think that they're talking to their children all the time and validating all their feelings. It's just garbage. It's garbage. Look, I don't know who's teaching it, but look who's teaching it. Are they young moms or are they experienced older moms? You know what I mean? I know where that goes. Do they really know where that's going? Think about it. It's experience-based. You just can't. You cannot feed the crazy. And you don't have the mini therapy sessions afterwards. That was exhausting. I get so riled up over that. I don't know why. I guess because I deal with it every single day. I have clients every single day who've been doing this. And because they're so influenced by what looks good. These mini therapy sessions, they look good, but they're not. Okay. So what if they're not getting the attention they want from you ignoring? They tantrum for a longer time. Oh, well, this is a slow burn process. The first time they do that, they're going to get worse because they're used to getting attention. But my kids never got attention with a tantrum with me, so it didn't get worse. But if you have a child who's used to getting attention through tantrums, then you all of a sudden start ignoring them, they're going to get worse because they remember the old you. So my son instinctively was starting to learn through repetition that as soon as he calms down, he's going to get on that swing. He wasn't going to get a lecture. He knew that as soon as he calmed down, he was going to get on that swing. Which kid do you think was happier? Oh, and by the way, some parents say, well, if you're not validating their feelings, it's abusive and all that. If not validating that tantrum and that loss, that crazy, makes your child feel bad about themselves, you're doing something wrong. Like what I mean is there's not enough love going around in that family then, because any child who knows their love, feels safe, and they got a leader as a parent, that does not upset them. They learn, oh wait, mom's not taking any crap. My mother in a million years would not have put up with that. Not in a million years. I never had a tantrum. Neither did my brother, evidently. So she lucked out with that. But she would have just looked at us like, what are you, crazy? Like she just would never have put up with that. So we would have learned, and we both really, respected our mom and told her everything. So, but yeah, there's no way my mother would have fed a tantrum. She would have gone, oh, this crazy kid. And then kids just learn, right? They learn. My mom tells me all the time, just leave your daughter alone, you'll be okay. That's experience. Can't beat experience. This is all experience based. It just is. Um, because I didn't learn a lot with my own kids because I got respect when they were little because I had so much experience with kids before I even had my own kids. I learned this through working with hundreds of other kids. I was always able to get respect with kids, and I was always the fun Lisa. I was always the fun mentor. I was fun. It was funny, and kids wanted to be around me. So it works. My methods. It's not just that I lucked out and I had easy kids and anything worked. I've worked with hundreds of kids. Now, what's the difference? I managed to get respect from all these hundreds of toddlers, teenagers, whatever age. I managed to get, what's the difference? What's the common denominator? It was me. It was leadership. It's not about, oops, I just lost it. It's not about the kids. It's about you, which means don't blame your kids. Blame yourself. If you're not getting respect, you can fix that. Okay? It's up to you. Some parents hate it when I say that, but it's, whenever someone tells me if something's not going right in my life, if I ever complained about it, I would rather someone say, that's on you. Take responsibility for what's going on around you. Take responsibility for your own life. I like that. I like that kind of stuff. I was raised like that. Well, that's on you. Figure it out. You're doing something wrong then. Fix yourself. That's how, because you can only change yourself anyway. So if your kids are acting out, blame yourself. Don't blame your kids. Blame yourself. Like even when I was mentoring troubled teens, when I was first getting to know them, they would try stuff. They're testing me. Boy, if you can get respect from troubled teens, that's the PhD and all this stuff, I'll tell you. That's why I've never been hired by a youth worker. They work with troubled teens. If you can get respect from, that's the PhD and all this stuff. Anyway, they would test me for a while, right? Just to find out. But if they did something that I didn't like or I thought was ridiculous, I would always think, what am I doing wrong here? I'm their mentor, so what am I doing wrong? I never blamed them. I always thought I'm not leading them well enough. I'm not a good enough leader. And that was just seeing them once or twice a week, violent, delinquent teenagers. You see? Look to yourself. Don't look at your kids. How do we fix our kids? You don't. You set yourself up as a leader and then everything falls into place. Like that mother on the bench, the swing story, she was trying to fix her kid. It had nothing to do with her leadership. Nothing. She was trying to fix her kid and fix his emotions. And the way you do fix them up is you set yourself up as a calm leader, and then they regulate. They learn how to self-regulate. That kid learned nothing. He was miserable. She was trying to fix him. She wasn't working as a leader. My 3-year-old has a tantrum after I finish playing with her. Tips. Yeah, that just means it would have worked in the past. The only reason that she's doing that is it would have worked in the past. So what you do is you set up a new rule, set up a different expectation. Say, I'm going to play with you for, what have I got here? Oh, I don't have anything. If you have a little timer or something, this is my light. I don't know what I picked this up for. Just say, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to play for 30 minutes, set the timer, and then ding, okay, that's it. But give her a 5-minute notice too. So it's a very specific expectation. And then when you say, no, okay, we're all done now, walk away and let her have a tantrum. That's on her. Okay, she's 3 years old. She can learn that. At 3, you can start to do stuff like that. You can start to reason with them at 3. When they're younger, they're just like one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. You don't reason with a 2-year-old. It's consistent corrective actions they learn through repetition. You don't reason with them. You can try. Let me know how that goes. If a tantrum turns into more, yeah, absolutely. I would never. They just keep upping it because they think it's going to work. The only time I intervene, and I still don't look at them or talk to them, I will physically restrain them. If they're going to hurt themselves or someone else or damage property, just hold them, but don't look at them. Just restrain them from being violent. That's okay. Keep them alive. Keep them safe. That's okay. Then as soon as they start to calm down a bit, then let go. And then if they start getting violent, you don't talk though. Just quiet. It's all through body language. It's all just pretend you're looking at the trees or whatever. This would have been my mother. If I had ever had a tantrum, this would have been my mother. Are you kidding me? I would have been embarrassed. I can remember, I never had a tantrum. I can remember looking at kids having tantrums thinking, how embarrassing. But my mother would have, just her look would have done me in. I would have been so embarrassed. Are you kidding me with this? How to teach an 18-month-old to clean up their toys? No, just do it with them. They're too young to do that. Just do it with them. But I'll tell you what, make your life easier. Use my toy rotation system. And you just put away, where do I have that? Oh, no, that's in my course. My course will be out soon. I'm just one more week with this group. Anyway, toy rotation system. Put away about 90% of their toys, so they only have like 5 or 10 toys out. Switch them over once a week, so they put them all in a box, and then a new box comes out. So do a toy rotation system. It teaches them how to focus, and then when they clean up, they just have to put 5 toys away. So to say, okay, let's put your toys away, they learn through repetition. Again, they're just little. They're just learning. You can't teach them that. They're too young. They're still babies up until about, I think about 16 months. I consider them still babies, really. Forced sharing. I don't know what you mean by that. I have 3 different examples of how you teach kids to share. I'll talk about one of them as soon as I have a sip here. I'll tell you, I didn't do this with my kids, but it's another swing story, but it's a different one. Let's say there's one swing and there's 2 kids. You go to the park and you say, okay, there's only one swing available. So what we're going to do is each of you is going to get a 2-minute turn, and always use timers. It makes you look official. Okay, so, and you see how you go like this? Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I always kind of whisper when I'm getting like this. Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. There's one swing and 2 of you. So you're each going to have a 2-minute turn, but the first turn only gets 1 minute. So it's good to go first, but it's a shorter turn. Okay, do you understand? So then what you do is you say, we're going to flip a coin to see who goes first, and then let them go on the swing. Manage it that way. So you're in charge of it. You're teaching them how to share fairly. This is the problem with sharing. A lot of it's unfair, and the parents aren't policing it enough. They're not teaching them how to share properly. So you say, okay, you share, stop fighting. But one kid's often hogging it, but you just don't pick up on that. You got to teach them how to share fairly. One of my favorite stories with my kids was the Lego story. My son was 8 and my daughter was 3. And at this point, she had just started saying no to him. She idolized him. He was 5 years older, and whatever he said, bring me that, bring me this, let's do that. She'd go, okay. I remember him and I, my son and I, the first time my daughter ever said no to him. She was 3. We were in the dining room, and he said, oh, give that to me or something. And she said, no. And I remember my son and I looked at each other, and we just looked at her like she'd never said no to him before. She just thought, because he was a nice older brother too, right? So it's not like she had to fight back or anything. Anyway, this is the Lego story. They were in the other room, and it's the first time he ever let her play with his Lego. And so it was his. He had tons of it. He loved it. So he'd split up. They were going to play war. He had done the 2 sides himself. So he did her side and his side. And I didn't really know what was going on. I could hear them in the other room, but I heard them starting to argue. My rule was never argue. If you do, everything goes away. But if you do disagree, you have to figure it out or call me in to do it. Okay, that was my rule. So no fighting. So, and they weren't fighters. So anyway, I heard them starting to argue. And I said, do you want me to come in there? And they knew sort of if I did, because they'd already started arguing at this point, that I would just put all the Lego away. So I said, do you want me to come in there? And my daughter said, yes, please. So I was like, wow. So I go in there, and she's all smiles because she knew Mom knew how to take care of business. And he's like this, uh-oh. What he'd done was her side was all the dorky men, but she had double. Like she had the Where's Wally or Where's Waldo ones, with the striped tops and the beanies, and they were all sitting up looking dorky. He had like the Darth Vader black capes, the big spears, the real cool looking guys, but he only had like a quarter or a half of what she had. So I said, so you think that's fair, do you? I said to him, and his chin starts going up. She's got way more than I do. I said, yeah, I see she does. She has way more than you do. And he's getting more and more. He knew, I love this stuff, right? He knew. So I said, so you really think this is fair? So I said, you'd be just as happy with her side as yours. I said, great, then switch. Well, he started to cry, and then I said, or just figure it out. So he did. He figured it all out. But anyway, you got to organize this. You got to teach them how to share, but make sure it's fair. The reason why they don't share is it's often not fair. There's usually one bullying the other. And like with the swing, one would be on the swing for 50 times, and the other might get 1 time, and then they're booted off. Make it fair. We don't tend to fight back when it's fair and reasonable, do we? Right? Like we'll all stand in a lineup waiting for something, but if people start butting in line in front of us, don't we get upset? But we don't get upset if everyone's being polite. It's like that. Okay, so you got to learn to manage this stuff. That's the leadership stuff. That's all. When I talk about leadership, it's so many different things. That's just one of them. And that toy rotation system is another really good exercise in leadership. You're managing the toys. You're managing the volume of toys. Also having allowance and chores and all that. That's all leadership stuff. You set up systems, and then they just follow them. It's just the way it goes. It's just like in school. School isn't a free for all. School has rules. We start at this time. Then we have this activity at this time, that activity at that time. It's systems, and kids just follow along, right? It's just because they basically, we all like that. We all like order. We all like stuff to have systems. We're all like that. And then they have free for all playtime too. Like, it's not like it's all like that, but there's expectations, and kids do very well with habits and structure. I was a young mom and it just came naturally. Everyone on here hates you right now. I'll be honest, I was born to mother too. I mean, it just comes naturally to some of us, but most people know. We weren't all born just to mother. There's a lot of things I was not born to do. So we all have our talents in different ways, right? But yeah, I don't think anyone on here likes you right now. Uh, 3-year-old hit. Okay, I'm just going to answer one more question, then I got to run. 3-year-old hitting and throwing during tantrums, then you restrain them. That's when they get violent. I actually have a course on that. It's called, there's 2 different courses that kind of look the same. One is on tantrums. If they're hitting and throwing during a tantrum, that's what you want. If they're just kids who are prone to hitting and biting just to be mean, that's the other course, the violent. It's when they hit and all that. That's the other toddler course. But anyway, I have to go. Thanks so much for well, I didn't even answer that. So you just restrain them if they're hitting or whatever during a tantrum. Just hold them until they stop. It's okay to keep them alive. It's okay to restrain them to keep them alive. Anyway, if you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. You're on that too. You have to be on there. You have to be accountable. By the way, I'm going to tell you something interesting. This is just kind of an offshoot, but I always work backwards because my experience based is with teenagers, and that's my favorite age. And I always work backwards. I know how to help you sail through those teen years. I know what to do to get you there. I'm always about getting into those teen years. That's why you never take advice from someone who hasn't got experience with teenagers, because that's where everything shows. All your mistakes and all your good things that you've done. That's where it shows up, in the teen years. That's where rebellion comes in. Teens don't rebel. They're only rebel if they had it building up. Like, it's not a natural thing for a teenager to rebel. My son was 15 years old, and he said to me, this just blew me over. I couldn't believe this. I thought we were like best buddies. We got along so well. And he said to me, you've been a really difficult mom. And I said, what? I thought it was great. I said, what? And he said, because I have nothing to rebel against. You're too reasonable and easy to talk to. I wasn't meeting his needs. I would say meet their needs and manage their wants. I wasn't meeting his needs. He needed to rebel, evidently. I didn't know that. So I said, fine, go clean your room. And he never did. Rebellion taken care of. But yeah, they don't naturally need to rebel. That's just something that's been building up. The resentment has been building up throughout the years. I know where that comes from. So yeah, if you're going to take advice from someone, either me, it's a heavily experience-based. Make sure they finish the job. Have they lived with teenagers? And they might have just had easy kids like I did. Okay, I got respect when they were tiny and sailed right through the teen years. They also have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids with every single challenge you could possibly think of. This is all experience-based. It's all it is, because it's people. It's heartstrings. It's parenting. It's love. It's messy, right? So yeah, it's experience-based. There's lots of people out there with tons of experience. Search them out. Don't take advice from someone who hasn't finished the job and isn't heavily experience-based, because they just don't have the experience to teach this. And they can be teaching things like bedtime stuff and that, but not the big stuff, okay? For the big stuff, that they have to be experience-based. Because I clean up so many messes you wouldn't believe. It's just because people have been following or hiring other people without that level of experience. It just is. It just is. There's some perks to getting old. Experience is one of them. All these wrinkles and that. I've earned this, Anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again. Oh, wait a minute. What kind of mistakes did you make while parenting? Oh, God, thank you. Thank you for asking. I was very impatient. I'm very hyperactive. And when I want to get something done, I want to get going. So I would get like snappy with the kids. Come on, I said, we got to go. Did you get that? So when I was in a stressed out, impatient mode, if we were running, I hate running late. So every time I'd get like that, my kids would look at each other like this, because they knew. So here, you make mistakes. Nothing wrong with that. I make mistakes, but I made amends. That's why they look at each other and smile. I always said, never, ever approach me in the moment if we're trying to get somewhere. But afterwards in the car or something, they'd say, Mom. And I go, yeah, what? And I just knew. They'd say, don't you think you were a little bit impatient with us? I said, yes, what do you want? Well, we wouldn't mind getting some ice cream. So you see, you can make mistakes and you can still, as long as you're making amends and you're accountable for your mistakes. You never want to look perfect ever, because that's not human. We all want to make mistakes, but the key is to make up for them, make amends. So anyway, I made tons of mistakes. That's a whole other life. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow. Bye now.